here from Ignition Health, and welcome to this tutorial on how to use MyFitnessPal to track and analyse your eating habits. Now before we get started, I just wanted to point out that there are other ways to track your eating habits that don't involve a computer and don't involve programs like MyFitnessPal. So if this sounds like something that you want to do, then let me know and I can show you how that works. I do recommend giving MyFitnessPal a go though, because it's a really good tool to be able to track and analyse your food. So if you did want to use MyFitnessPal to start tracking your food, then you can do so by following this tutorial. So let's get started. Here we are in MyFitnessPal, and as you can see, I'm using the website version. I find it a lot easier than using the app when it comes to setting your totals and personalising your nutrition profile. The app is great, however, for entering foods throughout the day and using the barcode scanner, which is something that we'll cover later in the video. Before we get started on how to log your food, I just wanted to show you a quick few changes that I like to make in your settings that others have found quite useful. So if you head on over to the My Home tab and click on Settings, and this brings up some changes that you can make. And one of the first changes I like to do is to change your diary settings. So here what you can do is change what you'd like to track. And one thing I like to change here is your sodium, which is your salt intake. What we want to do is monitor your fibre. Now fibre is really important for your digestion and overall gut health, and has been linked to improved fat loss through diet. If you've been told by your doctor that you should be monitoring your salt intake, however, I would leave this as sodium, but for most people I think fibre is going to be sufficient. If you head on down a little bit, you see here that you can change your meal names. Now I find this really handy because you can get an idea of when you're eating your foods, especially if you're having snacks throughout the day. So what I like to do is change this one to first snack, this one to second snack, this one to dinner, and if you want, you could perhaps add an after dinner as well. So your calorie adjustment, enable negative calorie adjustment. This is for if you have a Fitbit. Your Fitbit activity can adjust the amount of calories in your food diary. I wouldn't recommend this. I found it to be quite inaccurate. If you want to, that's fine. But what you'll see soon is we're going to change your total calories for the day based on your regular activity. So what you want to do is save changes. And here we are back at the settings. The next thing I want you to check is that your units are something more user-friendly. So here we've got kilograms, which is good, centimeters, which is good, calories, which are a little bit easier to manage, and I find cups is easier to manage too when it comes to how much you're eating. Save changes. Back to settings. So we've changed your diary settings, we've changed your units. If you ever wanted to change your password, you can do that here. If you ever want me to log into your account, check your settings, check your targets, you can go in there and make a nice generic password for me to log in. So that pretty much completes the setup side of MyFitnessPal. So you can head on over to goals now, and we're going to personalize your goals. And here we have your total calories and your percentage of carbs, fats, and proteins. So if you don't know what to put here, please let me know. For most of you, what I'll be doing is creating a nutrition profile which determines your total calories for the day. Now, in an ideal world, we would like to change these from percentages to grams, but unless we upgrade our prescription, or our subscription, should I say, we can't change that. It has to be percentages. So if we click on edit, we can change your total calories to 1700, or in this case, 1600 is sufficient. We want 40% carbs, 30% fats, and 30% proteins. Now, 30% of your total nutritional intake of protein is going to be 120 grams, which is a lot. So that's just a target. Don't worry too much about that at the moment. And if we scroll down, or save changes, for argument's sake, we'll change that to 650, 1650, so that we can hit save changes, which then brings up another place. So here we have the settings that we've changed. Now we've got first snack and second snack, which is great. Now your fitness, we don't want MyFitnessPal to change your calories that we've set up here due to the exercise that you enter. I found this not to be very accurate. In fact, if you upgrade your subscription, you can turn this off, but for now we'll just leave this at 0. Now over to your macronutrients. So these are the little nutrients that we like to track. We click on edit here. If you want to track your sodium or your salt intake, you can do so there, and we'll change that to 1000. I think that's sufficient. Fiber is something that we track, and I think 25 is fine. But if we go down to sugars, we want to change that to about 25 or 30 grams of sugar. Now remember, that's not counting fruit. Fructose is a sugar that we get from fruit, and that's absolutely fine. Unfortunately, in MyFitnessPal, we can't differentiate between added sugar and fructose. So for now, we're going to add that to 30. And later on, when we look at your food diary, we're going to have to do a little bit of maths and take away the sugars from fruit to find out your total added sugar for the day. Saving changes. And that's pretty much it for your MyFitnessPal setup. Now, as I said, if you're not sure about your total calories for the day, let me know, and I can tell you what the go is there. So what we want to do now is head on over to your food diary by clicking the food tab. So here we can see the changes we've made to our setup. We have calories, we have breakfast, first snack, lunch, second snack, dinner, and after dinner if you're within your targets. Down the bottom, here's the 1650 that we created, which leads to 165 carbs, 55 grams of fat, 124 grams of protein. We're now tracking fiber, and our sugar target for the day is 30 grams. So, to add a food, you simply click on Add Food. And you can search for it by name here. But what's really handy is after you've entered a few foods, MyFitnessPal remembers it, and here's some recent ones that I've done in the past, so I can click on that. I had homemade porridge with milk, 100 grams. I had a yogurt, and I had some banana on top. So I click on Add Checked, and that's going to put it into my food diary for the day, and gives me some totals for breakfast, which is quite handy. And you've got your first snack as well. And because I haven't entered a first snack in yet, I can enter it in here. So for example, say I have an apple, Here is the apple, clicking on that. And that's just a medium-sized apple. Add to food diary. And there it is, entered in under my first snack. Now for lunch, say I had a chicken and cheese wrap. which is one I've entered before, or you could search for what you're having there. If I couldn't find a chicken and cheese wrap, I could put individually search for a wrap. I could find cheese, I could find chicken, and add them all individually, but I've just found a homemade chicken and cheese wrap, so I'm just going to use that. Say I also have a protein shake for lunch, and I put some frozen berries in there too. I can add checked. And there it is, added into my lunch. All the while it's changing my totals for the day, and what we're aiming to do is try and get as close to these targets as possible. So I'll keep going for this demonstration. Second snack, perhaps I had some crackers. So it says 5 crackers. I had 10, for example, so I'm going to times the quantity by 2. I had some hummus with that, and perhaps I also had some apple as well. Add checked, and that's going to go into my second snack. Now, before we changed these settings to first snack and second snack, all these snacks would have been grouped together, and that wouldn't have shown me if you had a morning snack or an afternoon snack or when you had those. So changing it to first snack and second snack means that I can see if you're skipping snacks or meals, or yeah, it's just really handy to be able to see. Dinner, adding the dinner in now. Here we've got frequently used ones, my foods, which I haven't entered yet, or meals or recipes. What you can do is if you've got your own special meal that you have fairly often, you can create that and call it my special meal. So every time you have that, you can just enter in the one entry, but within that you've got your different parts of that. So for example, if you have a stir fry that you like to have, you could search for generic stir fry and try and find something as close to what you had, or you can create a recipe that's called my special stir fry, and it's got this amount of vegetables, this amount of sauce, this amount of cheese, etc., etc. So what I'm going to do is find something for my dinner. Say I had a stir fry. And you can go down and try and find something that you had. Here's a generic lamb stir fry, for example, which is good because I know that it's going to have protein in it. Unfortunately, this is in ounces, but what you can do is when you add it, you can generally sort of see if 4 ounces was enough. You could weigh it if you wanted to, but I'm looking at this saying 200 calories for a stir fry, 32 grams of protein coming from the vegetables and the lamb as well. I know that that entry at 4 ounces is pretty much going to be right. So here we go, it's given our totals for the day without having anything after dinner. So it's 1300 calories, so I'm 200 calories off. I've gone a little bit over my carbs. My fats are down. My protein's pretty good. Getting 124 grams of protein is going to be very difficult. Anything around your body weight in grams of protein is really, really good. Fibers a little bit over, but that's within range. Anything around 25 is going to be fine. And as you can see, my total for sugars for the day has completely blown out. What we need to do is take away any sugar that's come from fruit. So here we have 16 grams here, came from an apple. So we're going to go 81 minus 16, heading on up. Frozen berries again, pretty good. So we'll take away 11, take away another 16 for my apples, 14 for banana. So as we start to take the sugar grams away from the fruit that we've eaten, we can get a better idea of the added sugar. Now, one here, I can see 17 grams of sugar coming from this yogurt. That tells me that that's really high in sugar. It's more than a banana, for example.
on par with an apple. So what I would be looking to do if I was going to make a change to this current day is try and find a yogurt with a lower sugar level, or find a non-sweetened yogurt and add my own honey, mixed berries, etc. And that's really going to bring that down to sort of 5, 6 or 7 grams, which is going to change my total for the day. So the takeaway message here is your total sugars for the day, which are here, also include your fruit, and you need to minus the grams of fructose sugar from your total grams of sugar to get a true representation of how much sugar you're having throughout the day. So that's pretty much it. That's how you record a day. So what you want to do is complete the entry. Oh, sorry, one last thing. You can add the cups of water. So if you had 5 cups of water a day, that's another thing. If you wanted to track that, which if you're anything like me, trying to increase my water intake, I find this very helpful as well to see how many cups of water you're getting a day. So complete the entry, and away you go. Don't worry about this. With your nutrition profile, what I've done is I've worked out how many calories you should be having a day at rest. And I've factored in how much exercise you're doing, because you want enough calories to have a really good quality workout and enough calories each day to help you recover. MyFitnessPal is just calculating this based on your setup and how much you say you want to weigh. So don't worry too much about this. Your nutrition profile has factored in how much fat you want to lose, but it's considering also having really good quality workouts.
So that completes the MyFitnessPal tutorial. Your next step is to start to enter the foods that you're eating into MyFitnessPal, trying to be as accurate as possible with the portion sizes. Now remember, you can use the app on your phone to take a photo of the barcode of the food that you're eating, and that's going to enter in automatically into your food diary, which is pretty handy. What we're trying to achieve is to get a snapshot of what your current eating habits are, and then we can make little changes here and there to improve your nutrition. Now if you have any questions about anything in this tutorial or about how to track your food, just let me know. I'm always available for your questions, and you can contact me anytime. So thanks for watching.